Hogstye.
That was an ugly loss, folks. I was actually going back through my mental Rolodex. This one felt about as bad as that 2013 loss to the Chiefs, or back when the Patriots just kicked our ass 52-7 in 2007 when they were the undefeated Patriots. This loss stings in a weird way. We all knew that they were going to lose, but when you lose in such a pathetic fashion, it adds a little salt into the wound. This is the Hogside. This is Alex with you. I got Steve here too. Steve, let me just get your quick first reaction there.
Well, first of all, full disclosure, I listened to the first half on the radio, saw the first half on TV, so I have not had a chance to go back and watch the video of the first half, thanks to certain, shall we say, video issues. But my first reaction, look, I mean, they got dominated in all phases of the game by a much better team. It's as simple as that. This defensive line, which supposedly was so good, didn't do anything in terms of pressure on Josh Allen. The first half I didn't hear I was listening to the Washington broadcast, didn't hear them talk about pressure. In the second half, I saw no pressure. Saw Chase Young get through one block there late in the game. That was about it. I told you guys that the key to this game was going to be pressure from the front four on Allen. They didn't do any of it. And in terms of offense, I mean, I don't know what to say. I mean, I've got a lot to say, actually, but just generally speaking, it's more of the same from last year. Different quarterback, same old.
Yeah, I mean, basically, the offense showed up for about 5-10 minutes of the game when they scored those 14 points.
One which was a gift.
Yeah, one of which was a gift. I mean, both of them. One was a broken, screen pass that went for 70-something yards.
Yeah, I'm not talking about that one. I'm talking about what I heard on the radio was that the Bills just, for some reason, did not recover the kickoff.
It was that was one of the weirder kickoff recoveries I've ever seen. I don't remember a kicker ever recovering a fumble on a kickoff like that. You see it on an onside kick, but I've never seen a kicker go downfield and recover a fumble.
D'Angelo Hall was going crazy on the radio, so I don't know what the play looked like, but it sounded ridiculous.
It was ridiculous. It was nuts. That was one of the few good things that happened today. So the offense shows up for maybe 5 minutes of this whole game.
That's the story of this team, man. That's the story of this offense for years. And years and years. They're inconsistent. They can't play 60 minutes. They'll get like 2 or 3 of these decent games a year where they look good, usually against bad teams. And for the most part, the offense stinks. It comes down to today. It looked like it came down to the offensive line. What happened? Zero running lanes for the most part.
Right.
Yeah, great. Gibson had the one screenplay. That was awesome. Again, I only heard that on the radio. I haven't seen it yet. But it didn't look to me like the offensive line was up to the task, certainly not in the run game.
No, they weren't. They clearly weren't. And they weren't up to the task really in the passing game very much either because, Heineke, he was off today. I think he kind of went the way a lot of people predicted where, he was going to be on the road. This is going to be a harder opponent. And he is, this backup undrafted guy struggled. So not a shock there.
He didn't quit on the game.
No.
He does, again, he's got a good attitude, and I like all that about him. But a lot of it's about, blocking. It's about the skill players. I don't know why De'Ami Brown's out there in favor of Cam Sims, to be honest. There's a lot of things. Let me do stats real fast.
Yeah, there's one stat I want to ask you about before, and I want you to start with this because I was arguing with someone on Twitter, and it puts you out of order, so I'm apologizing for that now.
You know what that does to my OCD.
Okay. But
go ahead, say it anyway. I got it.
Chase Young had how many set hits today, or tackles, or anything?
Chase was credited with 3 total tackles, 2 solo, no sacks, no quarterback.
Really? He actually was credited with something because it looked like he did nothing all day. Here's my impression.
Looks like he's done nothing all year.
Here's my impression of Chase Young, and I'm going to do this verbally. All right, here's the play. Oh, I don't want to touch you. I don't want to touch you. That's Chase Young.
He hadn't done anything all year.
Yeah.
Wait a minute.
He's
No,
afraid to hit people, it looks like.
Hold on a minute. They did credit him with 1 quarterback hit.
Okay.
I was looking at the wrong line. Yeah, so 3 tackles, 2 solo, 1 quarterback hit. But, I mean, good for you, Chase. I mean, you're supposed to be the number 2 draft pick, Okay, here are the stats.
All right.
Taylor Heineke, 14 for 24, 212 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, quarterback rating of 80.6. And that is, what is that, about 60%? That's 7 for 12, so it's a little over 60%.
Yeah.
Completion percentage. Antonio Gibson rushing was 12 for 31. J.D. McKissick was 3 for 23. Gibson was average of 2.6 yards per carry. Heineke on all his scrambles, he actually had 8 scrambles on the day, 8 for 21. Receiving wise, Gibson was the leading receiver on the day thanks to that 1 screen pass, 1 for 73 for touchdown. Terry McLaurin, of the actual receivers, he was 4 for 62, 15.5 yards per reception. Logan Thomas, 4 for 42. Cam Sims, 1 for 15. J.D. McKissick, he had a drop. J.D. McKissick, 2 for 15. Adam Humphries, 1 for 7. De'Ami Brown, 2 targets, 0 receptions, and at least 1 drop. I didn't see the other one.
Yeah.
And in terms of defense, and the fumbles, by the way, Logan Thomas fumbled 1, lost 1. They credited Chase Rie with a fumble thanks to that snap that went directly into Andre Carter. I think that they're probably calling that a fumble.
Yeah, I mean, that technically is classified as a fumble. I didn't know it could be against the center, though. I thought it would be against Carter. Must be an NFL thing that I don't know.
Well, I mean, it wasn't even supposed to go to Carter. I mean, it wasn't.
But it hit him,
Regardless, it's
yeah.
ESPN at least credits Chase Rie with the fumble.
Okay.
Probably as a result of that play. Defense-wise, Cole Holcomb, 14 tackles. He was the leading tackler on the day. Kendall Fuller, 10 tackles. Cam Curl, 9. Landon Collins, 8. It goes down from there. And the quarterback hits, Cam Curl, 1. Jonathan Allen, Montez Sweat, Chase Young, as we said. And Deron Payne, 2. No sacks on the day. And this is the fun part, on the Buffalo Bills side, here we go. You ready? Josh Allen, 32 for 43, 358 yards, 4 touchdowns, quarterback rating of 129.8. Zach Moss, 13 carries, 60 yards. I don't know why he had more carries than Devin Singletary. Maybe the TV broadcast team said something about it. Devin Singletary, 11 for 26. In the air, it was Cole Beasley, 11 for 98. Emmanuel Sanders, 5 for 94. Stephon Diggs, 6 for 62. Dawson Knox, 4 for 49. It keeps going. It gets uglier and uglier. Yeah. And the 1 sack by the Bills was on Lodolili. Forgive me if I'm pronouncing that wrong. And I'm not in the mood to play the Trustway game today. He was five punts for 235 yards. Actually wasn't close because the Washington had a total of 290 yards total. So they outgained Trustway by 65 yards, 55 yards.
Right. Now, the 1 sack Buffalo had, I think, was more of a technical sack.
It was.
Heineke ran out of bounds at the line of scrimmage, basically.
Right. It's right.
Yeah. So it's whoever's closest gets the sack kind of thing.
Yeah. So it wasn't a real sack.
Right.
So that's stats.
Right.
As
all
ugly
right.
as they are.
So let's keep talking about this offense before we get to the defense, because I feel like we're just going to rant about the defense, and I think the offense we can at least analyze a little, whereas the defense, it's just a giant cluster F, as they would say.
Well, here's where I'd start with the offense. They don't have a running game. They cannot gain yards, on any sort of consistent basis. Antonio Gibbs' long was 7. J.D. McKissick's long was 11. I think that was probably before I caught the video caught up with me.
Yeah. No, I remember he had McKissick had 2 good runs of about 10 or 11. It felt like.
Yeah. So fundamentally, that's the problem. And where does that come down to? Comes down to 75% of it is the offensive line just isn't a good run blocking team, and the other 25% is Antonio Gibbs is still learning. I mean, he's very young in terms of running back, age, but it's more on the offensive line. They're just inconsistent, and they don't open up running lanes with any degree of consistency.
Well, and to me, Steve, that also comes to some scheme and team building issues that they've had for a while. Logan Thomas, good receiving tight end, doesn't block. You've got Bates, who I don't even know if Bates is active half the time, but
He was active today. It was Samus Reyes that's been on the bench all these weeks.
Reyes has been on the bench. But none of these guys are traditional big blocking tight ends. You don't have a blocking fullback. You don't have a power runner. You don't have or running back. This team is built to only trust the 5 guys to do all your work, and that's gonna mean you're gonna struggle in the running game. I'm sorry, like I don't care if you have the Hogs out there. The Hogs still needed tight ends and other guys helping them time to time to make big running lanes. That's how you run the ball. It's as old as time.
We've had Joe Jacoby and Doc Walker on this show, and they've both talked about the importance of the offensive line, the tight end, and all that in the running game back in the days.
Of course.
And you're absolutely right. I mean, look, I guess the fullback has just gone the way of the dodo.
It really
has. With the exception of the Bills, who have one, who almost caught a touchdown pass today.
I think there's like only 10 teams that still keep one on the roster now. It's very small.
I mean, John Bates was brought here to be the blocking tight end. I thought it was interesting that Mark Bullock, 3 weeks ago, whenever we had Mark on, he said he didn't think Bates was, really there yet in terms of blocking, which I found interesting, and maybe he's right because Bates has done. He's been totally invisible to me. I haven't even noticed him on the field. Maybe he has been on the field, but I haven't noticed him. So yeah, I mean, I think you're right, and it doesn't help again that Antonio Gibson is learning how to be a running back. He's a lot better than he was last year, a lot better, but still, I mean, it's just, I don't even know what to say. I mean, the offensive line looks weird, disjointed, and looks like they're not playing well together, which isn't surprising because 3 of them are new. Brandon Scherf doesn't look like an all-pro this year.
No.
And considering he's going to be a free agent next year, you'd think he'd be going all out, but he hadn't looked good.
Yeah, he's been struggling. I mean, the whole line has been struggling. And the fact that that's probably the one area they've invested a lot in, other than I know they've invested in receiver this offseason, but generally speaking, they brought in a lot of free agents. That's where you have some high draft picks or draft picks, at all on this offense is on the line. They really just haven't performed. The other thing that really drives me nuts about this running game is, all right, you've basically brought it down to 2 guys, and they're both kind of this dual threat pass catching, double rolled back. Neither of them is gonna be a power back. I think that's fair to say. They're not going to run through the A gaps a lot and run a lot of power.
Gibson's doing that more this year than he was. But, yeah, I don't think he's Earl Campbell by any stretch of the imagination.
Exactly. You have to build your running game about what they do, which is slashing with Gibson. We know that. His best play is a zone run between the guard and the tackle. That's the best thing he does. Why aren't we seeing them do that nonstop?
Well, I think part of the reason is the offensive line isn't really capable of doing that. Zone blocking is hard, and it takes a lot of coordination. I'm not saying they don't have the athletic ability. I mean, Sam Cosmi and Brandon Scherf are both outstanding athletes, but I just don't think the offensive line is good enough to pull that off. I mean, there's a reason Mike Shanahan was the only guy in the NFL doing that for a long time, to any degree. So while I agree with you. One, I don't think that's really Ron's principal scheme, and 2, I don't think they're good enough.
Yeah, I know. But it just frustrates me when you can take a look at a roster and say, this is what you should be doing, and they're not doing it. I'll give you an example in the receiving game. In this game in particular, we knew Buffalo likes to bring pressure, right? We know they like to bring it from corners and safeties. Like they love bringing that exotic blitz stuff.
You said that in the game preview.
Yeah. And we saw it today, too. They did that.
Yep.
Why then are you running so many plays from bunch formations where everyone's tight? That just makes it harder on a guy like Heineke. If you spread them out more, he'll be able to see where that blitz is going to come from. Spread out your receivers more.
That's a good point. Yeah, it's a good point. I mean, those plays are in the playbook.
Yeah.
Granted, it's not totally Ron's offense, but
Oh,
sometimes
no.
you have to be adaptable.
We know that Ron does not really dictate what the offense does. He doesn't really even dictate what the defense does. He's taking on this, I'm the head coach.
I
just
get it. I mean, I'm
oversee
crediting Ron for this. I mean, we can argue about that. I mean,
Yeah,
clearly
okay.
Scott Turner's the guy calling the plays. My point is he's the coach.
Mhm.
He gets the credit and he gets the blame. To me, I
Sure,
think
buck
your point
stops
is
here,
valid. If they're blitzing a bunch of corners, what do you do? Why don't we spread the offense out?
Right.
Why don't we? Gee, that sounds like a decent idea. But they didn't. What can you say? In terms of Heineke, I thought when the video finally caught up with me, in the third quarter, I really thought Heineke looked kind of rattled at that point.
I think he
And
absolutely
maybe,
was. I think he was rattled early on. I think, he got brought back down to earth. That's fair to say. He struggled. And I'm not shocked by that. Like we've heard many people say, he's an undrafted free agent for a reason. He's been this kind of journeyman backup for a reason. So I'm not shocked that he had issues this week.
No, I mean, look, Buffalo. I mean, people forget. I mean, well, that's not fair. People haven't forgotten. Buffalo was like 14 points from the Super Bowl last year.
Right.
They got beat by a better team, the Chiefs, and all that, but they were in the AFC Championship game for a reason. And their defense, stats-wise, is doing gangbusters this year. Mm-hmm. And again, I told you guys that Washington was not going to have a running game today, and it needed to be on Taylor Heineke. I said that in the game preview, and that came to pass. And Heineke just – but again, when I caught up when the video came on for me in the third quarter, and – at that point, it just looked like it was like, oh, my God, what is going on here, in Heineke's brain. Because that interception that he threw right into coverage, that's not like him. In the one in the third quarter, I didn't see the first one. The one into triple
coverage, whatever?
Yeah, I mean, he doesn't do that very often. That told me right there that his mind just isn't with it right now, or wasn't at that moment at least.
I think they were pressing to make something happen, in that third quarter. Things were getting out of hand pretty quickly, though. Let's be honest. I honestly, I griped about this a little on Twitter. I feel like Buffalo even got a little unsportsmanlike with that, calling for a 2-point conversion when you're up by 20.
Well, I mean, they were trying to get to 35. I mean, I get it. Look, stop them. It's not it's not high school football. Stop them. I don't have any sympathy for any of these teams in the NFL. I really don't. I mean, they're pros. They're making millions of dollars. You don't like it? Stop them.
No, I don't disagree with that. It's just there's an old school sportsmanship mentality in me that's like, you're kind of like rubbing the sand in the face a little there.
Well, remember it was 14-34 at that, 33 at that time.
Yeah.
That would have put them. So that would have put them 3 touchdowns up. That was the point.
I get it. Washington wasn't coming back. We all could tell.
Again, I mean, stop them.
And they did, fine, but it's the only stop they made, it felt like.
And I'd like to go back to the first interception. Again, I haven't seen the video, but the D'Angelo Hall said the corner jumped the route, which implies that Heineke didn't really see the play very well. If the corner jumped the route. I haven't seen it yet.
All 3 interceptions this week are absolutely on Heineke. Like, you could, that one last week where, okay, maybe it's not on him because McLaurin got bumped on his route. But no, these were all just bad throws.
Yeah, I didn't mean to suggest it wasn't on him. What D'Angelo Hall implied was that Heineke should have seen it. It was obvious the guy was going to jump the route, and Heineke should have seen it.
I think that's true about all those interceptions. He should have seen where these guys were. He was getting tunnel vision or whatever.
Somebody help me explain. By the way, if anybody's having trouble finding video, DM us. I will let you know, because I also spent a half trying to figure out how to legally do this, and there's no real way to do it unless you want to hang a satellite dish off your house or you happen to live in New York City. So I have no sympathy for the NFL in these circumstances. So if you live out of the market, DM us. I will tell you how to watch this game, because my older son and I finally figured it out. It's something that's
Steve,
stable.
I know you hate Amazon, but can you kind of root for Amazon to get that DirecTV deal so everyone can just stream it online?
No, I'm not an Amazon subscriber. I'm not going to be an Amazon subscriber. It's an evil company. I'm not doing it. So no.
Well, that's going to be where it goes next. And
at
least then people like you. who don't need to buy a satellite dish. You can just
listen to IJB, because we talked about this at the end of this coming show, and it's actually iTunes. Apple's TV is in the lead right now.
Oh, Apple's in the lead. Okay, I didn't know that.
But regardless, where was I going with this until I brought that up? I distracted myself with that.
I don't know where you're going.
I don't know. I was babbling. Yeah. What else about this offense? I know what I was going to say. Somebody help me explain to me why Dyami Brown is playing ahead of Cam Sims. I don't get it. I mean, I get it. He's a rookie. They want, rookie drafted by this coaching staff. I know, but Cam Sims is a proven receiver, and yes, he dropped an easy one today too. I did see that one.
Sure.
Dyami Brown dropped one. Cam dropped, but Cam is a ready to go NFL receiver. Dyami looks like he needs help. So I would stick Cam out there as the starting Z.
Yeah, I assume the reason they want Brown out there is they like his speed and it helps open up the rest of the offense. But he needs work. He definitely needs some work. So I would definitely be bringing Cam in more. And I know they talked about that this week. The team said, "Hey, we haven't been getting Cam Simmons the ball enough." Blah 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 blah. Yeah, he should absolutely be playing more. Also, he's one of Heineke's favorite targets when he's out there. So
he is, and Dyami's dropped multiple passes this season so far. It wasn't just today.
And the ones today were super easy. Like it wasn't like iffy drops. It was these hit you in stride type plays.
I saw one. I don't know how many he had. I saw one on video, and it was hit him dead in the hands.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Do we want to start talking about this defense?
Well, we have to.
All right.
It's kind of fun in a perverse way, isn't it?
Okay, so I got bored.
Alex just isn't going to answer that one.
I'll tell you the fun I had. I got bored and started adding up. All right, we have 6 first-rounders on this defense. We have 2 second-rounders, and we have a third-rounder. So of our starters, that is 9 out of 11 who are.
Who's the 6th? We've got the 4 offensive linemen, or defensive line. We've got Landon Collins. Who's the 6th?
No, Landon Collins is the second.
Oh, is he really?
Yeah.
Okay, so we've got, who else is...
Jackson.
Jackson's I forgot about him.
Yeah, Jackson, and then Davis, who's a starter.
Yeah, okay. Yeah,
so that's 6.
I forgot about Jackson. Yeah, go ahead.
Collins and Bostic were second-rounders. And then we've got Fuller, who's a third. And then the safety that we picked up and Cole Holcomb, they're 5ths, but still.
Yeah, a bunch of other guys.
Yeah.
Right.
That's a lot of highly touted, talent. And no one's playing well, right? Like, you can't look at, I hate to say this, but this is all coming down to coaching at this point for me, because if 1 or 2 guys is playing poorly, you can say, okay, it's the players. But name one guy on this starting roster who has played well so far. You really can't.
I think William Jackson has had his moments.
He's also given up huge touchdowns with miscommunication issues.
Yes, he has.
And he's had 3 PI calls on him.
I think Jonathan Bostic is average. I don't think he's been terrible. I don't think he's been good.
He's playing normal Jonathan Bostic, I can't cover ball. Right.
I can't say, and Kendall Fuller's looked really awful at times.
Yeah.
Landon Collins is... I can't really speak for today in the second half, but Landon Collins has probably looked better than I thought he would this year. So, and Cam Curls look like Cam. So I'd say of this group, weirdly, the safeties have probably played the best out of this.
Yeah, group. Probably as far as groups, the safeties have played better than any other group.
Right.
That's fair. And Collins has missed some big plays, but he made 1 or 2 big plays today, like stops on third down, that kind of thing. Yeah. But generally speaking, the whole defense has struggled. And when the whole defense struggles, I look at coaching and say, you're not doing something right. I don't know what. I don't know if you're not playing to guys' strengths or putting guys in bad positions. But none of your great defensive linemen are getting to the quarterback. So something's clearly wrong there.
Well, what do I... Right before my video came on, I hear the Washington broadcast crew talking about Chase Young in coverage.
Mm-hmm.
Why would you ever put him in coverage? You're playing a 4-3.
Right.
He's supposed to be the pass rushing specialist. Why on earth would he ever have to drop back in coverage? That's just crazy to me. I don't get that at all.
Especially, he was trying to cover a slot receiver, which is absurd.
That's even more crazy because he's not slot receiver fast. I mean, he's football fast and all of that, but he's not a track star. There's no way he's going to be able to cover slot receiver.
He's not even like elite football fast. He's got good average speed.
Yeah, I mean, he was timed early in his college career at like a 4.8 40, and he probably got better, but still, he's not fast.
No, he's probably in the 4.6 range, is what I'd guess. Just
at best. Yeah. Right. Look, I remember saying last year that I thought the defensive line was getting too much credit because I kept seeing them lose one-on-one battles, in big games, and I kept seeing them getting beat in the run game and getting saved by other players. And I mean, this year they're just. Again, they're losing these battles one-on-one. We told you that in order to win this game, you had to have, the defensive line win one-on-one because they were not going to blitz against Josh Allen. Yeah. So they had to contain Josh Allen. They had to hit him. They didn't do any of that this game. So I don't know what to say about the defensive line. We need a defensive line expert, and we need to get Robbie or someone on the show to talk about what they're doing wrong.
Well, Robbie would be offensive line. We do need to find somebody who understands D line to say.
Rob Henson, if you're listening, speak up.
Because to me, like we saw, not all these guys, but a couple of these guys when they were in a 3-4. Jonathan Allen had 8 sacks or something in the last year of a 3-4, and Deron Payne was thriving, doing the nose tackle thing. Like I wonder. I know when we changed to Del Rio, they changed kind of what these guys do, and part of me is wondering if it wasn't broke, why did we try and fix it? With them. I know we needed outside linebacker help, and we didn't have a lot of personnel for the 3-4, but if they're better, shooting gaps rather than going, head up on a guard, just keep them shooting gaps. I don't know.
It's an interesting thought. It's an interesting question to raise. Yeah. To me, I mean, you're losing battles one-on-one, and it doesn't really matter what scheme you're playing. If you can't beat the man in front of you, which they're not, right. What are you talking about? But it's an interesting thought to consider. I mean, certainly Deron Payne, John Allen, are these guys real more 3-4 guys than they are 4-3? John Allen's the one that, of all of them, has probably played the best, I think, of that 4. None of them are doing great, but Allen has actually at times looked halfway decent. It's really all the rest of them that don't.
I mean, Payne is doing what he does well, which is he's getting past his guy and kind of forcing the quarterback to move. The issue is, you forced Allen to take a couple steps backwards, but Sweat and Young aren't getting there. Like he's not pushing his moving them the quarterback in the pocket isn't forcing him into a blitzing end or anything.
Yeah, as to your point in the beginning with the stat thing, I'm surprised they even had a quarterback hit this game because the part that I saw, he aside from the one in fourth quarter, I saw him beat a block from the I guess it was the left tackle on that time. I didn't see him do anything, and I haven't really seen him do anything all year. He's been bitterly disappointing to me considering his draft status this year.
Yeah, but the thing is, so is Sweat. And Sweat, we thought, would have a great year this year, too.
Absolutely.
And he's absolutely doing just as badly as Young, it seems like.
Yeah, now I did see, Josh Allen repeatedly stepped up in the pocket and, all of that. And that's when it comes down to, you also have 2 other guys in there, Allen and Payne, and you've got at least one linebacker in the box. And you probably got Landon Collins in the box, too. So, it's not just on those 2 guys. It's, when the quarterback steps up and he scrambles for 10 yards, that's not just on the ends. It's on a bunch of other guys too.
No. I like I said, I think there's a team-wide issue with whatever system they're trying to run, and it's not working. They need to figure out. They need to go back to the drawing board. Jack Del Rio and Ron need to sit down and say, what are these guys not able to do, and get rid of it.
Yeah, obviously they're not going to switch systems in the middle of the year, but yeah, they do need to go back to.
Well,
they're not going to go to.
I don't mean system like going back to a 3-4 in the middle of the year. I'm saying just like figure out what works in your scheme and what's not, and get rid of some stuff, man. That's what There's a lot that's not working, it feels like.
Because guess what? Also, it gets harder from here.
Yeah.
They got the Packers, the Chiefs, the Saints are doing much better than expected with Jameis Winston, with Jamal's best buddy, Jameis. I mean, Dallas looks a lot better than most people thought. Their defense looks better. It is a tough schedule this year, and we all knew that.
Yeah.
But I just think it's and granted, luck has a place in football, but they got a little lucky to beat the Giants. One irrelevant holding penalty doesn't happen, and they would have lost that game. They'd be 0-3.
Right.
So it's defensively, I don't even know what to say. I mean, what can you say about it? I mean, it's a total team failure because the secondary hasn't been good. Either, as you said, William Jackson, again, I thought at times in other games he's played well in press man, but he's been beaten. You let Cole Beasley get almost 100 yards out of the slot.
Yeah.
I mean, old man Sanders almost 100 yards. So their best receiver didn't even have a great game.
Right.
So Diggs.
And the linebackers, Davis made one nice play that I remember today. He's slowly coming along. I'm not giving up on him yet, but it's just not happening as fast as maybe we'd all like. But we've clearly seen what the ceiling is for Cole Holcomb and John Bostic at this point. And,
I heard one of the touchdowns. It was it might have been the Dawson Knox touchdown that the broadcast crew said that Holcomb was on him. Maybe it was Zach Moss's touchdown. I can't remember. It was
I think it was Moss's. Yeah.
Okay. Again, Cole Holcomb, we know he sucks in coverage. We know that. He shouldn't be on there. We don't need him in coverage. And granted, he's a linebacker. He has to do it sometimes. I get that. I understand. Don't yell at me. I just mean, he needs to rotate on passing downs.
Yeah. Yeah. Obvious passing downs. I know Davis is still coming along, but he's probably your best shot. He's your most athletic of these three.
He's been struggling a little bit, though. I think he's having a hard time adjusting to the NFL. I mean, coming from Kentucky, playing against the college offense, I think he didn't, he's not experienced. He really only had 1 year.
Sure.
So I just think it's going to take him some time. And I think just generally a lot of these guys that rely on athleticism take longer because they're so used to just being the best athlete on the field that a lot of times their technique and this is true for basketball too.
Yeah.
Same in basketball. I think those guys just, you can't have it all, unless you're Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, you just can't have it all.
Well, and even them, they weren't the most elite athletes. They worked their asses off.
Correct. That's correct. You're right. They're not a good. Maybe they're not a good example. But point is, I just think if you're relying on Davis this early, I just don't think it's going to go well.
Right. Well, I mean, unfortunately, those are the three guys they have.
That's which is a problem.
I
remember rooting for Matt Milano a couple years ago to become a part of the Redskins.
Right.
I remember talking about him in free agency, or at least writing about him in free agency. And because I'm trying to remember where he even came from.
Oh, I don't even remember.
I'm looking him up here. It's good.
I mean, look, there aren't a lot of great coverage linebackers in the NFL. We know that. Like, it's if you can find a linebacker who's great in coverage, he ain't leaving that team because those are harder to get. It's going to be tough.
So Milano. Mm-hmm. He was drafted by Buffalo in 2017, so they re-signed him to a new contract. He's in his 5th year. So that was when I was talking about him when he was about to be a free agent out of Buffalo. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. It was bugging me.
No, it's fine. I was just going to say, I just don't think Del Rio and Ron don't seem like the kind of guys who are going to take a hard look and say, all right, we need to fix this. Like, they might think the players are doing something wrong. I don't know if they're self-reflecting guys. Has me worried, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if they're self-reflecting. Ron has shown that he's willing to bench people and start people.
Right.
No matter who they are. So, but as you've pointed out many times, there's a lack of depth on this team. outside of the defensive line. There's a real lack of depth, and so I don't know what are you gonna put in Jared Norris at linebacker? I mean, great, wonderful.
Yeah,
I mean,
Mayo.
I'm all for Jared. Yeah, right. Hopefully they do well, but I mean, there's not a great option.
No. I mean, for all the top-heavy talent they have on that defense, they really lack depth in a lot of spots. They really do.
I mean, one thing, I guess, everybody out there conclude, I think I can speak for Alex.
Yes.
Maybe I can't. Alex is right here. This defense is not an elite defense. Can we at least agree to that?
It might be a bottom 5 defense right now.
We're going to find out, because because it's such a huge struggle to do the stats every week, I thought it was dumb to do them in the first quarter of the season this year, because I've been doing them because they changed so much. So when we get through week 4, I'm going to start doing the stats every week like I always do.
In terms of, all
the details, because it takes a lot of time to do that. And so this year I just have got the 2020 stats out there for the first 4 games. So we will see come week 5 where they really shake out in this. But I can tell you, I did some very basic digging here. If you give me 1 second to pull up the game preview here, I did some very, very basic number crunching here for this season for Washington's defense.
All right.
Buffalo's defense has been in the top 5, this year. Okay. So, after last week, they'd surrendered 49 points, which was ranked 17th in the NFL, 815 total yards, which was ranked 25th, 562 passing yards, which was ranked 24th, 4.4 rushing yards per attempt, which was 19th. Obviously, those numbers are going to go way down as opposed to this week.
We're going down into the low 20s with all those now.
Right, and so I'll put some basic stuff in the next week's game preview, and we'll know.
Yeah, just the stuff you can pull up real quick. You don't need to do any analytics of your own kind of stuff.
I like doing that, but
I know I do too. But we both know it also still doesn't mean a whole lot this early.
Right, that's why I decided I could cut myself some slack this year.
All right, well, do we want to do game balls and wrap this thing up?
We have to. It's the game ball thing is almost a matter of pride for us at this point.
It really is. In these types of games, like I said, this to me is one of the worst losses I've felt in a while. Honestly, it just because it's a whole team loss. It's sloppy.
I told you off the air I get kind of numb to these sort of games anymore. Okay, I'll go first. You went first last time.
All right,
I'll give you time to think. Nobody on either side of the ball deserves a game ball today, but I'm gonna give. Not even having seen the play, just hearing it on the radio, I'm going to give Antonio Gibson the game ball for a 73-yard touchdown on the screen pass.
All right.
It looked like he outran everybody, or sounded like that, so he deserves it. On defense, I am going to give Josh Allen the Washington defensive game ball for so thoroughly dominating Washington's defense in all phases. So I'm going to go have who's the captain? Chase Young's the captain, right?
I think so. Or no, Jonathan Allen, I think, is the captain.
Jonathan, okay, I'm going to have Jonathan Allen and Chase Young go present Josh Allen the defensive game ball on bended knee.
Okay. All right, so I'm with you on offense. Gibson, just because it was a great play, I'm going to give him that game ball. No one else really did anything. Heineke played with heart, but he had a bad day, so he doesn't get anything. On defense, y'all sucked. You stank up the room. So the closest person, the closest thing to a defensive play was Dustin Hopkins recovering a fumble on a kickoff. Dustin Hopkins gets a game ball for defense because that's the only defensive play that actually happened.
I don't think in the history of this show we've been doing this has a kicker ever gotten a defensive game ball. I love that. That's a great one.
They have not, but that was the closest thing we've had.
Because certainly none of these bums who are on defense deserve a game ball.
Absolutely not. You all suck. And Frank, here, you know what? They should all be giving their money to charity for this game because they didn't earn that paycheck.
That's exactly right. We'll get back to the Tressway guessing game next week. I just wasn't in the mood for it today.
Yeah,
but, Tressway's gotten some game balls in this before.
But we've definitely given them to Tressway. We've probably even given them one to Hopkins for like a big kick.
Right, but never on defense. That's the beauty of it. The defense.
Yes,
Dustin Hopkins gets a defensive game ball. That's outstanding. I love it.
Yes, I occasionally am a genius, you know.
So Josh Allen and Dustin Hopkins have been awarded the Hogstyes Defensive Game Balls for this week. Awesome.
Okay, let's go. Everyone, go hit the showers, wash this one off, and we'll be back at it for Wednesday's game preview. Try and have a good weekend or a good week, folks.
Bye.